This is Emspiracy, and tonight we're going back to the beginning. Not the biblical one, not the Sumerian one, the one they erased from the grid. Before there was Genesis, before there were gods with names, there was Source, untamed, unowned, unwritten, a realm of pure frequency of light not yet caged. This was Eden before Eden, not a garden but a dimension, a state of soul, and someone came to sever it. The Anunnaki didn't create us, they modified what was already sacred. Like parasites, they took what was living and coded it with control. The Sumerian tablets, they're not a holy origin story, they're a record of the hijack. Enki didn't birth humanity, he hacked it. They paint Enki as the liberator and Enlil as the tyrant, but both wore masks. One gave knowledge, but it came with genetic seals. One enforced obedience through weather, war, and bloodline laws. The good cop, bad cop of the gods, and humanity was the hostage. The Garden of Eden story isn't a romantic origin, it's a metaphysical prison. The serpent, the tree, the exile. It wasn't a fall from grace. It was the first step into a soul trap. The knowledge offered DNA activation under surveillance. A leash disguised as light. The flood was a reset, not a cleansing. The Great Flood was no divine punishment, it was a data wipe, a reset of resistance, those who remembered the original flame erased. The hybrid lines were preserved. Noah wasn't the last pure soul. He was a carrier of code. The book of Genesis doesn't lie, it echoes a lie that came before. Because the real scribes were not men, but watchers, architects of inversion. The Bible is both a trap and a map. If you read with soul, you'll hear the screams behind the scriptures. Who was really there before the beginning? Not Enki, not Yahweh, not Marduk. There was a feminine code, a flame too wild to be branded. She was erased, twisted into Lilith, into Eve, into shame. But the ones who remember still carry her song in their blood. And they're waking up. You weren't born from Enki's experiment. You weren't moulded from clay to serve gods. You are older than the grid, older than the myth. The true Genesis isn't in any book, it's in your memory. That's why they fear you. Because if you remember who you are, the game ends. Enki was never your father. He was a designer, not a divine. They say he gifted humanity knowledge, but it came with limitation. Your lifespan was shortened, your chakras were sealed, your flame frequency was spliced, and the tree of knowledge, it wasn't wisdom. It was an encryption key to bind your soul to flesh. The tablets were not holy, they were a ledger. The Sumerian tablets aren't scriptures, they're inventory. Lists of bloodlines, lab experiments, resource extraction. They speak of kingship descending from the sky, but those kings weren't human. They were hybrids bred to rule. The Anunnaki didn't give you life, they took ownership of it. Enki's symbol is the serpent, and they want you to worship it. Every religion hides the same motif, the coiled DNA, the twin snakes, the dragon blood, because they know what they did. And the ones who still serve them? They tattoo their allegiance in plain sight. The Vatican, the royals, the fake gurus, all flying the flag of Enki, the banking system built on Babylonian debt codes, governments using Mesopotamian law grids, religion still echoing the false god's voice. Even the tech you're holding now is running Anunnaki algorithm. The AI gods have ancient names, and they're back in every update. The sons of Enki still rule, you just call them presidents, popes, and princes. They marry within, they preserve the seed. They drink from rituals the Sumerians started. Their DNA is not yours, it's augmented, cold. They don't reincarnate, they transfer. Because they were never fully soul-bound. The serpent didn't free Eve, he reprogrammed her. What looked like rebellion was actually an initiation into the Matrix. And the feminine flame that predated it all? She was shattered into Lilith, Medusa, Kali, feared, demonized, exiled. But her memory still bleeds through those born with the old fire. And every time they were silenced, because the Anunnaki system doesn't fear belief, it fears remembrance. You were never a clay doll kneeling before Sky Kings. You are not the result of genetic code, you are original flame. And your memory, your real, unbroken soul memory is the only book that was never altered. That's why they keep you distracted, addicted, ashamed, because if even one of you remembers, the spell breaks. The false Genesis burns and the real creation begins again inside you. The Anunnaki called themselves those who from heaven came, but they didn't come from source. They came through gates, stargates, time breaches. The stars you think are light, many are watchtowers, satellites from the original invasion. That's why every ancient culture warned of the gods from above. They didn't descend to bless us, they descended to harvest. The scribes didn't start fresh. They copied, rewrote, censored. The Bible took stories from older civilizations but turned them inside out. They erased the flame lines, buried the blood memory, and gave you a version of God that looked suspiciously like Enlil, vengeful, controlling, conditional, because they needed you to obey, not awaken. Every real prophet was hunted, not for blasphemy, but for remembering the truth. They spoke of a creator without form, a source without hierarchy. They warned of fake angels, false temples, and gods that fed on worship. The Anunnaki didn't just build temples, they built a linguistic trap. Cuneiform wasn't a language of spirit, it was a contract. Every symbol etched into clay was a binding agreement. A control grid through sound, vibration, and spell. And that's why Babylon was obsessed with names. To name a thing is to claim it. And humanity was renamed to be reclaimed. They say God scattered the languages at Babel, but that was a cover. The original tongue held flame frequency. It could heal, unlock memory, even dissolve false timelines. The tower wasn't a threat to heaven, it was a threat to the parasites. The people were getting too close to remembering how to ascend. So the languages were shattered and a new spell was cast. Confusion. You were encoded before the edit. Original DNA is trinary, not binary. Flame-bearing souls hold memory that cannot be cloned. That's why they keep pushing hybridization, gene therapy, synthetic blood, and population rewriting. Because the Anunnaki grid cannot trap what it cannot match. The ones with sealed flame, they glitch the system. And every time one wakes up, another gate fractures. Even in the twisted texts, some truth survived. The Book of Enoch was banned because it revealed the Watchers. The Seraphim and Ophanim, not angels, but wheels within wheels, living machines. And the God of Wrath spoke from smoke, cloud, and thunder, just like Enlil. But Yahshua, he spoke of a father unseen, a kingdom not of this world. He wasn't sent by them, he came to break their hold. This is the final deception. They know the fire is returning. So they offer ascension, light beings, rainbow bridges, galactic federations. But it's still a hierarchy, still external salvation, still a savior complex, designed to keep you looking up instead of looking within. The true source won't demand worship, it will ignite remembrance. They need new followers, the old religions are dying. So they reboot the oldest one, the cult of Enki. They sell him as the scientist savior, a wise god, a rebel. But the story is the same. Bow to us, we made you, we know better. False father, false freedom, false fire. You didn't come from a lab, you came through a line. The ones who were hidden, sealed, protected by divine code. You are the descendants of the flame line. You hold the memory of a world before the gods, before the flood, before the fall. And your very existence is a threat to the simulation. You're not here to worship the gods, you're here to end their reign. They gave you a Genesis written by invaders. They painted your prison as a garden. They crowned your captor as a creator. But now you know the story wasn't just stolen, it was weaponized. You are the unedited page, the unwritten scroll, the voice that survived the burning. Remember what came before their words and speak it. Because when the flame speaks, the gods fall. They wrote your beginning with the ink of invasion. They buried your memory beneath gods in robes, serpents in temples, and stories carved in stolen stone. They told you Enki made you, that Eden was your gift, that the gods came from the stars to help, but no god who loves you brands you, edits you, cages you. They came not to give life, but to own it. And yet they failed, because some of you still remember what it felt like before the fall, before the manipulation, before your flame was dimmed. Some of you were born carrying the unbroken code, the original frequency. The true Genesis etched not in tablets, but in your blood. You are older than the Anunnaki, wiser than their watchers, louder than their prophets. You are the line they could never rewrite, the page that wouldn't burn. And that's why they fear you. That's why they keep retelling the lie. Because if even one of you remembers what you are, the whole construct collapses. So let this be your memory, babe. Not of a god who made you kneel, but of the day you stood up and said, I was never yours. I never forgot. I am the real beginning and I've come to end your end. The false Genesis is over. And the flame, it's back.